Remember the fast cars, wild stunts, and mischievous adventures of the Dukes of Hazzard, 1979-1985, from the Duke boys' daring escapes to Daisy's charm and Boss Hogg's scheming. This iconic show had us laughing, cheering, and holding our breath week after week. But what have the cast members been up to since the show ended? Fast forward to 2025, and some have completely reinvented themselves, others stayed in the spotlight, and a few took paths you'd never expect. From shocking career twists to surprising personal stories, we're diving deep into the lives of your favorite Hazzard County stars, uncovering what really happened behind the scenes, and trust us, you'll be amazed by some of these transformations. Buckle up, it's going to be a wild ride down memory lane. Denver Pyle was born on May 11, 1920, in Bethune, Colorado, and took on the role of Uncle Jesse in 1979 at the age of 59, becoming the heart and moral anchor of the Duke family, whose gruff wisdom, understated humor, and deep loyalty grounded the chaotic adventures of Bo and Luke. Uncle Jesse's character exuded a calm authority, while secretly nurturing the rebellious streak of his nephews, making him a cornerstone of the show's emotional appeal, and earning Pyle adoration across generations of viewers. Behind the camera, however, Pyle's life was far from serene. He grew up during the Great Depression in a struggling family that endured financial instability and frequent relocations, instilling in him a strong sense of self-reliance, but also leaving scars of insecurity and early emotional suppression. Pyle's acting career was filled with highs and lows. Although he became a beloved character actor, he endured years of intermittent employment and battled typecasting, often losing roles to younger, flashier actors, or those with more Hollywood connections. While Pyle maintained a reputation for professionalism, industry insiders occasionally whispered about his stubbornness and unwillingness to compromise, which led to tensions on set and limited his opportunities for leading roles. Personally, he experienced tumultuous relationships, including 2 marriages that weathered periods of estrangement, long hours on set that strained family bonds, and occasional rumors of political friction with more liberal colleagues in Hollywood. Despite these challenges, he found solace in private pursuits, including his passion for hunting, fishing, and the outdoors, which mirrored the grounded qualities of Uncle Jesse. Pyle faced health struggles in later life, particularly lung cancer, which eventually claimed him on December 25, 1997, at age 77. At the time of his death, he had accumulated an estate worth approximately $5 million, consisting of real estate savings and residual income from decades of film and television work, leaving behind a legacy defined by steadfast dedication, authentic portrayals of Americana, and a quietly complex life that mirrored the depth of the character he immortalized. Waylon Jennings, born June 15, 1937, in Littlefield, Texas, became the voice of the balladeer and composer of the Dukes of Hazzard theme in 1979, at age 42, lending a gritty outlaw swagger and musical gravitas that defined the show's tone and elevated the Duke boys' adventures into mythic Americana. His deep baritone narration infused every car chase and daring escape with tension and warmth, while his personal reputation as a rebellious pioneer of the outlaw country movement mirrored the audacity of the characters he celebrated. Jennings's life off-screen was tumultuous and shadowed by near tragedy. As a teenager, he narrowly escaped the plane crash that killed Buddy Holly, a haunting brush with mortality that haunted his consciousness. He also endured childhood poverty, family estrangement, and the pressures of a Southern upbringing that left him emotionally volatile and fiercely independent. Professionally, he soared as a musician, but succumbed to cocaine addiction In the 1970s, struggled with erratic behavior and faced repeated friction with the conservative Nashville establishment, including near loss of recording contracts that threatened to derail his career entirely. His personal life mirrored this turbulence. Multiple marriages, extramarital affairs, and estranged children painted a portrait of a man both magnetic and self-destructive, whose charisma often came at the cost of stability. Despite these personal demons, Jennings achieved redemption in the 1980s, regaining creative control, continuing to influence country music, and maintaining an enduring presence on the pop culture landscape. He died on February 13, 2002, at age 64, from complications related to diabetes, leaving behind an estate valued at roughly $7 million, including royalties, real estate, and intellectual property rights. Jennings's voice and musical contributions continue to echo in the legacy of the Dukes of Hazzard, ensuring that the audacity, rebellion, and rough-hewn charm he embodied remain permanently intertwined with the show's identity, while his life story serves as a testament to survival artistic genius and the cost of living loudly in an unforgiving industry. Sorrel Booke, born on January 4, 1930, in Buffalo, New York, stepped into the flamboyant role of Boss Hogg in 1979 at age 49, creating one of television's most enduring villains, a corrupt, greedy, and theatrical county commissioner whose white suit, rotund frame, and over-the-top antics masked an uncanny intelligence and political cunning. Boss Hogg's character was simultaneously hilarious and menacing, a man who embodied the absurdity of power in small-town America, and Booke's nuanced performance made the character unforgettable, generating both laughter and dread from viewers who secretly rooted for his comeuppance. Off-screen Booke led a life of contrasts. A Yale-educated polyglot, fluent in 5 languages, he was a man of refinement, who simultaneously nurtured a fascination with eccentricities, from restoring dilapidated homes to indulging in obscure historical studies and theatrical impersonations, some bordering on the bizarre. His childhood had its shadows. Born into modest circumstances, he faced ridicule and social marginalization that left him emotionally guarded, fostering a lifelong reliance on wit and intellect as armor. Professionally, Booke navigated success and limitation in equal measure, typecast in villainous or comedic roles. He sometimes clashed with producers and co-stars over character interpretation, a perfectionism that made him both respected and difficult. Personal life was marked by isolation and subtle turbulence. Intense privacy led to strained family ties, occasional loneliness, and fleeting romantic entanglements that never entered the public eye but contributed to his enigmatic persona. He faced serious health challenges later in life, battling colorectal cancer, which ultimately ended his life on February 11, 1994 at 64. His estate, valued at approximately $5 million, consisted of his home residuals from decades of television appearances and modest investments, reflecting a man whose wealth was modest compared to his talent, but whose artistic influence remains profound, with Boss Hogg still emblematic of theatrical villainy and dark comedic brilliance. James Best was born on July 26, 1926, and took on the role of Sheriff Roscoe P. Coltrane in 1979 at age 53, instantly becoming the iconic bumbling lawman whose slapstick antics and childlike voice belied a cunning and sometimes desperate desire to uphold Boss Hogg's often crooked schemes. Roscoe's combination of absurd incompetence and occasional brilliance made him both comic relief and a surprisingly sympathetic figure, capturing audiences who loved watching his misadventures in the rural chaos of Hazzard County. Best's own childhood in Powderly, Kentucky, was a crucible of hardship. Born into a family struggling with limited resources, he endured teasing, social exclusion, and the early loss of a sibling, which forced him to develop resilience and humor as both armor and survival tool. These formative experiences shaped his trademark ability to balance vulnerability with performance, a duality that informed not only Roscoe, but his broader body of work in film and television. His career was marked by both steady accomplishment and private turbulence. Though he was revered as a skilled actor, he occasionally clashed with cast and crew, once walking off set over dressing room disputes, a rare glimpse into the tensions beneath his genial exterior. Best was also a dedicated mentor and artist, teaching acting to students including Quentin Tarantino and Lindsay Wagner, while pursuing painting with a seriousness that earned him respect beyond Hollywood's glare. Despite a largely scandal-free public life, he faced personal struggles with health and the pressures of sustaining a creative career culminating in pneumonia in his later years. Best's personal life included a long-term marriage, yet he endured periods of isolation, balancing family with professional obligations and private passions. He passed away on April 6, 2015, at age 88 in Hickory, North Carolina, leaving an estate valued around $2 million composed of earnings from decades of screen work teaching and art sales. His legacy is one of resilience, creativity, and understated brilliance, a portrait of a man who could inspire laughter while quietly carrying the weight of his personal hardships and artistic ambitions, making Roscoe P. Coltrane far more than a caricature, but a symbol of enduring charm and human complexity. Peggy Rhea was born on March 31, 1921, and first appeared as Lulu Hogg in 1979 at age 58, instantly energizing the Dukes of Hazzard with her portrayal of the feisty, scheming, and flirtatious wife of Boss Hogg, whose comedic timing and commanding presence provided a unique female counterpoint in a show dominated by male mischief. Lulu's clever, assertive personality, combined with her sometimes manipulative but always humorous approach to life in Hazzard County, made her a memorable character who entertained and provoked viewers in equal measure. Rhea's early years in Birmingham, Alabama were marked by financial scarcity, the death of her father, and an upbringing that demanded resilience, resourcefulness, and the suppression of vulnerability traits that later informed the strong, confident characters she portrayed on screen. Professionally, she experienced steady work, but also the frustration of typecasting in matronly or comedic roles, with limited recognition beyond ensemble casts, requiring a constant balancing act of patience, skill, and persistence to maintain relevance in a male-centered industry. Rhea's personal life was relatively private, though she endured the emotional weight of aging in Hollywood and the losses of contemporaries, managing health challenges and the inevitable pressures of a demanding career. Despite these pressures, she maintained a reputation for warmth, professionalism, and mentoring younger actors, embodying both authority and compassion in her work and personal relationships. Peggy Rhea died on February 5, 2011 at age 89 in Toluca Lake, California due to congestive heart failure, leaving an estate estimated at $1 million accrued from decades of television, film, and commercial work. Her enduring legacy lies not in scandal, but in her capacity to inhabit strong, humorous, and quietly subversive characters that entertained millions while navigating the hidden trials of a demanding industry, cementing her as one of television's most memorable matriarchal figures, and a testament to resilience, skill, and subtle power in a career often overshadowed by more headline-grabbing stars. Don Pedro Colley was born on August 30, 1938, and played Sheriff Ed Little in 1981 at age 43. The sheriff he played was the rare blunt instrument of real authority in a show built on pratfalls and car chases. Colley's Sheriff Ed Little arrived like a slab of reality dumped into Hazzard County, a steady, unmannered presence who could have broken the General Lee with a look, and yet often walked away, measured and amused. That gravel-voiced gravitas was not an accident. Colley grew up in Klamath Falls as the son of Muriel and Pete Colley, a working-class household where musical evenings his father played piano, and a mother engaged in local politics shaped a boy who learned early to carry himself with quiet strength. He was athletic enough to try out for the 1960 Olympics and studied architecture before the stage snagged him. He reinvented himself from athlete to repertory player to character actor, carving a niche in genre pictures, THX 1138, Beneath the Planet of the Apes, Daniel Boone, and a string of blaxploitation titles roles that brought him cult respect, but also the curse of typecasting, hulking, ominous, unforgettable, and yet often sidelined when mainstream casting wanted gentler, less complicated faces. Industry insiders remember him as professional and private. There's no headline-grabbing scandal to brand his name, only the slow-burn career frustrations of a talented actor whose best bits were sometimes expendable in Hollywood accounting. The sharpest failure in his arc isn't a scandal, but the shape of the business itself, despite memorable parts. Colley never broke into sustaining star money or A-list billing, and spent long seasons doing guest work and low-budget films, a slow professional erosion that left him celebrated by fans, but without the financial padding of bigger names. Off-screen he kept loved ones close and publicity at arm's length. Later life brought a private, long battle with cancer that ended on October 11, 2017, at 79 in Klamath Falls. Public records and obituaries paint the picture of a modest estate rather than a fortressed Hollywood fortune. No authoritative ledger lists blockbuster assets, only decades of character work, a hometown funeral notice, and the kind of cultural footprint that pays tributes more than bank fees. Catherine Bach was born on March 1, 1954, and played Daisy Duke in 1979 at age 25. Daisy arrived as a cultural detonator, pretty plucky kind and outrageously stylized. Bach's homemade cut-off jeans and t-shirt translated into a phenomenon. The Daisy Duke shorthand entered fashion. Her poster allegedly sold in the millions, and the image of her in short, denim refigured pop culture sex appeal for a generation. Bach's early life, raised between ranches and small towns, the granddaughter of a Mexican baker on one side and American ranching stock on the other, meant she learned to fend for herself and sew for money while studying drama. A scrappy origin story that made her insistence on bringing her own wardrobe to auditions almost inevitable. Career highs came fast and loud. An instant icon, a $1 million leg insurance stunt, and steady work through the 1980s and beyond. Career troubles were equally public. Being frozen into a sex symbol box made it hard to be taken seriously for parts that weren't about her looks, and the industry's objectification of Daisy left Bach navigating offers that traded longevity for exposure. The show itself later became a lightning rod. Its famous General Lee carried a Confederate emblem that would spark rerun removals and corporate backpedaling decades later, an ugly cultural aftertaste that cast retroactive shadows over the cast's legacy and complicated public affection. Her personal life has known sharp sorrow. Married briefly to David Shaw in the late 70s, and then to entertainment lawyer Peter Lopez from 1990. Bach was widowed when Lopez died by suicide on 30/04/2010, a loss she has said tested her faith and privacy. She is mother to 2 daughters and has parlayed fame into business ventures, merchandising, and a jewelry line. Financially, she is one of the few Dukes performers with a consistently reported net worth commonly cited around $10 million, built from decades of residuals, licensing, brand work, and sensible investments, rather than headline paydays, and she remains active in occasional acting roles, fan conventions, and business projects. At 71, she walks a life split between the glamour of an iconic image few can forget and the private accounting of grief reinvention, and the pragmatic accumulation of assets, homes, business equity royalties, and the still valuable commodity of being Daisy Duke. Born January 1, 1946, portrayed Deputy Cletus Hogg in 1979 at age 33. Cletus was the bumbling, endearingly dim-witted cousin of Boss Hogg, a figure whose comic antics anchored many episodes, but Hearst's real life carried far darker undertones than his jovial persona. Growing up in Houston, Texas, in a fractured household, with a mentally ill mother and an absent father, he learned early to bury feelings of abandonment and insecurity, channeling them into theater and performance. Though he earned a master's degree in fine arts, his career was riddled with typecasting as the fat funny guy, and on set he gained a reputation for mood swings and passive-aggressive behavior that alienated colleagues. His darkest public moment came in the late 1980s with a DUI arrest after a minor car accident following a fan convention, an incident that, while legally resolved, haunted his reputation for years. Hearst's personal life was equally turbulent, a rocky marriage to Shelley Weir rife with long separations and rumors of infidelity combined with estrangement from his son, actor Ryan Hearst, over unresolved familial tensions. Health issues in the 2010s further complicated his later years, and he died unexpectedly on June 26, 2025, at age 79, with the cause of death undisclosed. Despite these struggles, Hearst amassed significant wealth, with a net worth estimated between $5 and $10 million from residuals, conventions, and ongoing royalties. His life story is a stark juxtaposition. The laughter he brought on screen belied a deeply complicated, often painful reality behind the scenes, illustrating the precarious balance between public adoration and private tribulation. Sonny Schroyer was born on August 28, 1935, and played Enos Strait in 1979 at age 44. Enos was the shy, earnest deputy, whose puppy dog crush on Daisy Duke made him both comic relief and a sympathetic heart in the Dukes of Hazzard. But behind that wide-eyed innocence lay a man hardened by decades of struggle. Schroyer grew up in Valdosta, Georgia, in a household dominated by a stern father who dismissed his artistic ambitions, leaving him to conceal his creative yearnings while enduring relentless criticism and financial scarcity. A football injury derailed his early athletic dreams, forcing him toward modeling and eventually acting, a pivot that came with repeated rejections and typecasting. His career was punctuated by high-profile setbacks, most notably his failed spin-off series Enos, which tanked in ratings and nearly ended his television career. On set, he was reputedly controlling, rewriting dialogue, and maneuvering scenes to assert dominance over co-stars, leading to whispered conflicts with producers and cast alike. Off-screen, his personal life was fraught: a strained marriage to Paula, and a brief, discreet affair with a younger co-star, compounded by years of depression and a battle with alcoholism that led to a private stint in rehab in 1998. Despite returning to the Dukes after the spin-off, he never regained the same prominence, and the scars of professional and personal turbulence lingered. Schroyer's financial standing remained modest. With acting residuals, occasional appearances, and real estate, his net worth is estimated at $530,000, reflecting a career that, while memorable, never achieved the commercial heights his talent might have warranted. Today, at 90, he resides in Georgia, maintaining a quieter life removed from the spotlight, carrying the legacy of a character beloved by fans, yet a man whose life behind the camera tells a more complex, sometimes painful story. Christopher Mayer was born on February 21, 1954, and joined the Dukes of Hazzard in 1982 at age 28, as Vance Duke, stepping into an intensely scrutinized role during a cast salary dispute that temporarily replaced one of the original Duke brothers. Vance was charming and approachable, yet inevitably compared to his predecessor, creating tension both on-screen and among fans who were fiercely protective of the original characters. Mayer's performance, though brief across only 19 imprieurs, left a subtle mark, yet the pressures of sudden fame, typecasting, and limited opportunities weighed heavily on him. Raised in New York City, Mayer's childhood was shadowed by instability, emotional isolation, and periods of neglect, shaping a sensitive and introspective personality that clashed with the demands of Hollywood's spotlight. His off-screen life reflected these struggles. Rumors of substance use and bouts of depression circulated among those close to him, suggesting inner battles that never fully made headlines but profoundly affected his professional trajectory. Mayer's career suffered after Dukes. Despite his natural charisma, he struggled to secure lasting roles, experiencing professional rejection and personal disappointment, which compounded his sense of isolation. His romantic life was sporadic without long-term stability, and his relationships were marked by turbulence and emotional distance, reflecting both personal challenges and the pressures of maintaining public expectations. Later years were spent largely in seclusion in Los Angeles, where he remained connected to friends, but largely removed from the entertainment limelight. Mayer died of natural causes on July 24, 2011, at age 57, in his apartment, leaving a modest net worth estimated at $300,000, reflecting a career that promised much, but ultimately faded after early opportunities. His life is a sobering testament to the fragility of celebrity and the hidden struggles that can accompany even brief brushings with fame, offering a window into the darker, less visible pressures of television stardom that contrast sharply with the charm of his brief, memorable performance as Vance Duke. Ben Jones was born on August 30, 1941 in Tarboro, North Carolina, and was 38 when he took on the role of Cooter Davenport in The Dukes of Hazzard in 1979. Portraying the grease-stained, quick-witted mechanic with a rebellious heart, Jones became the embodiment of Southern resilience and grit. But the actor's real-life journey was more complicated than the good-natured man fans saw on screen. Raised in a working-class home under the looming shadow of segregation, Jones witnessed racial injustice from an early age, which later fueled his participation in the civil rights movement. He was arrested multiple times during sit-ins and once severely beaten by members of the Ku Klux Klan, a trauma that left him with lifelong psychological scars. His upbringing was marked by volatility. His father was reportedly strict and emotionally distant, and Jones himself battled depression in his youth. After struggling through college, he briefly found solace in theater before being consumed by alcoholism, which he later admitted nearly destroyed his life. During filming of The Dukes of Hazzard, Jones was known to be unpredictable. Some crew members claimed he would show up hungover or disappear for days. His addiction spiraled out of control in the early 1980s, nearly costing him his role on the show. He would later write that he sobered up the day before he died, describing a near-fatal overdose as the catalyst for change. Jones eventually got clean, entered politics, and served 2 terms in the U.S. House of Representatives, though his tenure ended amid accusations of mismanagement and erratic behavior. His defense of the Confederate flag in 2015 reignited controversy, particularly after he referred to its removal as cultural genocide, a statement that led to his ostracization from certain political and entertainment circles. Despite the backlash, Jones capitalized on his Dukes fame, founding Cooter's Place, a chain of museums, restaurants, and memorabilia shops devoted to the show. Now 83, he still performs with his band and remains a polarizing figure. His current net worth is estimated at around $500,000, built from his business ventures and decades of fan appearances. Byron Cherry, born April 17, 1955, took over the role of Coy Duke in 1982 at age 27 during the tumultuous period when the original Duke actors departed. Coy was intended as a Bo-like figure to maintain the show's continuity, but audiences rejected him, and ratings plummeted, leaving Cherry stigmatized as a replacement. Duke in perpetuity. Raised in Atlanta, Georgia, in a strict Catholic household that stifled emotional expression, he battled anxiety and imposter syndrome throughout his brief tenure on the series, often second-guessing his every move in front of the camera. His career after the Dukes was marred by instability. He reportedly clashed with producers over contractual obligations, was blacklisted by Warner Brothers for promotional disputes, and struggled to secure significant acting roles, leaving him dependent on occasional guest spots and residuals. Cherry's personal life has been reclusive. He never married and has no children, though he was linked to a scandalous affair with a married soap actress that ended quietly but left lingering gossip in industry circles. Unlike some of his contemporaries, he avoided substance abuse, but his battle with social anxiety and fame-related paranoia led to a semi-isolated life, punctuated by only sporadic public appearances at fan conventions. Now 70, he resides alone in Atlanta, maintaining a modest net worth estimated at $1 million, derived largely from real estate investments and residual royalties. Cherry's story underscores the precarious nature of fame thrust into a high-profile role. For which he was unprepared, he became emblematic of the career and psychological toll exacted on actors labeled as replacements, a cautionary tale about timing, audience loyalty, and the fragility of public favor. Was born on September 9, 1951, in Lodi, Wisconsin, and was 28 when he became Luke Duke in 1979, cool-headed, sharp-eyed, and always plotting the next big move out of Hazzard County. Luke was the tactician, the quiet foil to Bo's impulsive energy, and fans loved Wopat for his subtle charisma. But behind the scenes, Wopat's life was anything but composed. Raised on a dairy farm with 7 siblings, his early years were filled with labor, harsh discipline, and emotional repression. He sought freedom through music and acting, but struggled with deep-seated insecurities, particularly around fame. While his career flourished in the 80s with roles on Broadway and in music earning Tony nominations and releasing multiple country and jazz albums, Wopat's demons caught up with him. He developed a reputation for being difficult on set, allegedly clashing with directors over creative control and disappearing during critical rehearsals. In 2017, his downward spiral went public in a shocking incident just days before he was set to headline a production of 42nd Street in Massachusetts. Wopat was arrested and charged with indecent assault and battery, as well as cocaine possession. Police reports detailed accusations from multiple female cast members citing groping and inappropriate comments. During his arrest, authorities discovered 2 bags of cocaine in his car. Wopat later pleaded guilty to lesser charges, received probation, and agreed to undergo counseling. The scandal badly damaged his reputation, leading to canceled projects and severed industry ties. Friends described a man torn between artistic brilliance and self-destruction. His personal life was no less unstable. Multiple marriages, a string of public breakups, and a strained relationship with some of his children marred his private world. Despite attempts to rebuild, including new music releases and sporadic stage work, Wopat's legacy remains clouded. Today, at 74, he continues to perform in small venues, but avoids the spotlight. His estimated net worth stands around $2 million, propped up by royalties, album sales, and live performances. But to those who knew him well, Wopat is the quintessential tragic figure, one who touched stardom only to be undone by his own recklessness and volatility. John Schneider was born on April 8, 1960, in Mount Kisco, New York. And at just 19 years old, he charmed America as Beau Duke in the Dukes of Hazzard, having famously lied about his age, accent, and background to land the role. Blonde, brash, and fearless, Beau Duke was the quintessential heartthrob of the South, driving fast, loving harder, and rarely thinking before acting. Schneider's youthful energy on screen masked a far more complex and turbulent reality. Raised by a strict father after his parents' divorce, Schneider was a loner in high school, constantly moving and struggling to fit in. His early success made him a teenage idol overnight, but he quickly became disillusioned with fame. Clashes with producers and co-stars emerged during the height of Dukes, including a much-publicized walkout in 1982 over royalty disputes. Alongside Tom Wopat, Schneider sued the producers and was temporarily written off the show. The lawsuit painted him as greedy and ungrateful, something he would never fully shake off in Hollywood. Post-Dukes, Schneider shifted to music, landing multiple country hits, but personal disasters haunted him. His third marriage to producer Alicia Alain was filled with passion and public adoration until her devastating death from cancer in 2023. That loss sent Schneider into a spiral. In 2024, he drew national outrage for a racially charged comment about Beyoncé's influence on country music, claiming it was akin to a dog peeing on a tree. The fallout was brutal. Sponsors pulled out, and former co-stars distanced themselves. His past also includes a bitter legal battle over unpaid alimony, during which he was briefly jailed for contempt of court. Schneider has 3 children, but rumors persist about estrangement and tense family dynamics. Despite these controversies, he has kept active, founding John Schneider Studios in Louisiana, producing independent films, and touring with his music. Now, 65, he remains a controversial but enduring figure, financially stable, with a net worth of around $4 million. That fortune stems largely from his entrepreneurial ventures and long-standing fan base. But behind the Southern grin is a man shaped by grief, scandal, and the quiet burden of never fully outrunning his past. Nedra Voles was born on June 18, 1908, and played Emma Tisdale in 1979 at age 71. Emma was Hazzard's shrill, sweet, razor-tongued postmistress, small of stature, explosive in personality, a comic gravity that could upend an episode with a single offhand one-liner. And Voles made that archetype a weekly joy. She gave the village its ancient gossipy backbone, and in doing so, turned the little old lady part into a performance art. Her childhood was literally on the road. Billed as Baby Nedra in a family tent show, she grew up learning to hide real hurt beneath a bright stage grin, the itinerant vaudeville life hardening a child into a performer who could absorb humiliation, ridicule, and the necessary stiff upper lip demanded by show business. She left school for music, toured as a blues vocalist, and then decades later was reborn on television, a late-blooming success who became a reliable sitcom and commercial fixture in the 1970s and 80s. The flip side of that steady work was a career built on typecasting. Producers loved her as the feisty granny, and that casting kindness was also a professional ceiling. She rarely had the chance to stretch beyond those roles, and while the work was plentiful, it was rarely career-altering. Voles's life was not scandalous. What feels scandalous in hindsight is the entertainment economy that exploited elderly performers' slapstick for ratings while offering scant protection or big paydays. She performed daring stunts into her 70s, One director even let her fall headfirst for a gag, exacting a physical toll that an industry eager for laughs was slow to acknowledge. Her private life had normal sorrows, long marriages, children, and the eventual losses that come with age. She died of complications from Alzheimer's disease on January 20, 2003, at 94, in Mesa, Arizona, leaving behind a large resume of small-screen warmth and, by most public reckonings, a modest financial legacy, rather than celebrity riches. Her story reads like a cautionary tale of mid-century show business, beloved resilient, repeatedly underestimated, and paid in applause, more than in long-term security. Thank you for joining us on this nostalgic journey through classic television history. If you enjoyed learning about the cast of Dukes of Hazzard and where they are now, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe for more vintage Hollywood retrospectives, and share your thoughts in the comments below. We love hearing your memories and suggestions, so let us know which TV show or movie cast you'd like us to feature next.